Ladies and gentlemen, Big Handsome from Thursday Night Football on Amazon Prime and the Whit and Fitz podcast. Andrew Whitworth.
Yeah.
Appreciate you, baby. Appreciate you.
How you doing?
I like your wording there, Whit and Fitz podcast. That's correct.
Is that what it is?
That.
Is that what it is?
It's the Fitz and Whit podcast, but I'm trying to get it changed, Pat. We're in a disagreement.
That's on me.
Every week I argue with him. We should flip it.
See, if it means anything,
You're on my team. That's what I like.
Okay, unbeknownst to me, I'm on your squad. To be clear, in my head, there was an eeny, meeny, miny, mo situation happening while I was talking about you. Is it Fitz and Whit, or is it Whit and Fitz? And then in my head, I thought I saw Whit first, but maybe that means I am on your side completely. Yeah, maybe the natural thing is to say the non-plural sounding name first, and then Fitz second, because of the Z at the end. Fitz and Whit's a good name, though. Great show. Great show, too.
Thank you.
You guys have gotten great
Appreciate
shit
it,
out of there in such a short amount of time. How do you feel? You look amazing.
I appreciate it, brother. Just trying to keep it moving, Pat. I spend my off season still training like I think I'm playing, I guess. It makes me feel young at heart. I got 4 little kids to chase around. So, I can't ever let these boys feel like they're hitting that teenage stage.
Yeah. They
can't feel like they can take pops down. So, I got to stay in a dominant position.
Yeah, you got to be alpha. If you have a pet orangutan or something.
Be careful.
Anytime that thing thinks it is the alpha of the house now, you got to do dynamic. I don't have any baby boys, but I would assume it is a very similar feeling on your end. Can you tell me about these workouts a little bit? We talked off air. I don't want to air out your laundry. You can say whatever you want, but these workouts are every day at 6 a.m.?
Yeah. Me and Sean this year decided this offseason we were going to try to connect in the mornings, get some training in. Sean McVay's trying to, I think he's trying to relive his Miami, Ohio days a little bit. He still thinks he can get out there and make it happen out there on the field. So we've been training every morning, 6 a.m. at a gym I have here in Westlake Village we actually call it The Village. It's just kind of a mixture of the people in my life and my trainer that I trained with while I was playing. So we got a lot of guys there. Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua and a lot of those guys train still. Tyler Higbee, Jordan Whittington. We got some guys coming in. So it's fun, man. I get to be a part of the locker room a little bit still. That feeling you love, man.
Yeah, and they get a chance to train at a place that isn't the facility. You're there all the time, but you get to train with the guys without having to go anywhere else. That's an excellent opportunity for all parties involved, especially with the camaraderie building that needs to happen for a team to be great. It happens in the offseason. You said Cooper Kupp in there. How's that going with everybody? He's cool with everybody because he understands the business?
Yeah, I think, obviously it's nothing in your career, man. Anytime you kind of see a door closed and you feel like something's going to change, I think it gets emotional. And obviously what Cooper's meant to this franchise will never change. He's made all our lives better and brought a freaking Super Bowl championship here in an insane season he had. But Cooper's also driven in the passion of who he is every single day. So he trains. I watched him yesterday with Puka Nacua and Jordan Whittington and those guys, giving them some insight of route running and some of the things that he, emphasizes when he's doing things. It's not just about the football field to him, man. It's about the legacy of who he is as a man and the impact he has on guys around him. And he's always been wired that way. So I can imagine whatever team gets him, they're going to be excited to have a guy who's not only going to be a great football player, but what he's going to be able to teach and bring to a locker room and a group is going to be really special because he's like having a coach on the field from his ability and really from the mental part of the game, what he understands.
Okay, so he's training, you said, as of today. So he's in good shape, body feeling good, everything, all systems go.
Pat, he's shirtless in there every day. He's just letting the guys know, I still got it, baby. He's showing off the six-pack. I think it's a little shot at Puka. Like, you better stay in shape because this is the kind of shape I'm in, Puka's known for throwing up in the trash can. Coop wants to show off the six-pack. That's what it is.
Puka getting after it all the way to the point where he throws up. Respect, dog.
Yeah.
Absolute dog. What a noose in there. And then Cooper Kupp definitely has spray tan, though, right? You're not going to be that white with a shirt off unless there's at least a little bit of a tan. So you down there at the beach, maybe toning that up a little bit.
I don't think Coop puts any chemicals on his body, including deodorant. So I think he's an all-natural guy.
Okay, we got a hippie coming to your town.
Natural.
We got a hippie coming to your town who's a incredible wide receiver, especially could be a great addition to a locker room. Let's talk about you. You obviously were synonymous with the Bengals for a long, long time. And I remember when you left the Bengals, there was some sort of something. I don't remember the exacts of it. Then you end up with the Rams. Yeah, some sort of something. Yeah, it feels like there's teams that are getting in that position now. Obviously, not just the Bengals, who Trey Hendrickson is allowed to go look for a trade. Sam Hubbard just retired. We thought that might open up some money for Trey Hendrickson, but they tell him he can go seek a trade because they got T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, ways. A lot of people they have to figure out over there. San Francisco 49ers seemingly have to deal with it every single year. Whenever you're talking about, we don't have to just talk about the Bengals, but obviously they're a part of this conversation as a whole. Whenever you have to pick and choose who you're giving money to and how much money you're giving to people, how uncomfortable does that actually get behind closed doors, do you think? That we don't talk about?
I think it's really uncomfortable. I think it's one of the things maybe the fan bases sometimes don't understand. This week isn't just about who's getting acquired or who's leaving and who we're cutting. There's a lot of emotions involved and a lot of nerves because you're hoping that a lot of these decisions are quality decisions you're making as a personnel group, and you're saying, hey, we feel like we want to move money this direction or we want to add money here to our team. And you look at the Cincinnati Bengals situation, which is a great one. Obviously Joe Burrow has been very outspoken about wanting T. Higgins and Jamar Chase back. And the Bengals have always done things financially a certain way. And so it's kind of one of those things like maybe, hey, listen, Joe, we're going to try to do this, but these are the people that are going to have to go. And there's going to be people that aren't going to be a part of this team if we're going to do it that way. So you look at Trey Hendricks's situation, I think it's the Maxx Crosby deal that really probably sent this to this point, because now they go, wow, if that's the asking price, you probably need to go out there and see if there's another team that would offer you that and then give us some compensation to really make it worth our while to move on.
$106.5 million extension for Maxx Crosby, completely earned. We're not saying
he deserves every bit of it.
Every play this guy plays, just like Trey Hendricks.
Crazy, man.
I mean, it is. The engine is obviously absurd, but the impact on the game that a pass rusher has, especially if you're Trey Hendrickson, the pass sack king last year, and then last 3 years most sacks out of anybody, it's like, I assume somebody will be like, yep, we will make that play for Trey Hendrickson. And the Bengals are going to be back at a spot that they're always in, which is get talent, can't keep talent. Business always gets in the way because there's a lot of stats floating out there about paying Joey Burrow. And then obviously the Eagles pay Jalen Hurts. And somehow the Eagles are able to keep everybody. And the Bengals are very rarely ever able to keep anybody. So how do you view the situation as somebody that's been so close to it in the past?
Well, the issue is the Bengals are never going to, issue out lots of guarantees and contracts, and unfortunately, they've just continued to be way behind times in that spot, because it's like that's the part of the business now, and eventually, you may have had an old way of doing things, but if you don't ever change, you're going to always get left behind in these situations. Continuously, they've let big free agents leave. Now, it's not that every team hasn't done that, but then they've also not been able to replace them. You look how many draft picks they've spent on the defensive side of the football since they lost Jesse Bates and DJ Reader, and now possibly Trey Hendrickson, and they just haven't been able to find guys that match up to that standard of play. So if you can't pay them to stay, and you also don't draft their replacement, you're living in a world where we just keep spinning the circle, and you're going to keep putting yourself in this position where you're going to have to overpay to keep some talent. And right now, you look at it, you've gone this long with T. Higgins being upset with his contract. Jamar Chase obviously needs to get taken care of. Those are the things I just hate to see teams do, to continue to allow it to fester. Make a decision. Pay the guy, move on from the guy, but stop letting it just linger in the locker room. Because to me, that's what you really see start to have an effect. Like what the Cowboys did with CD Lamb and Dak last year. It just continues to fester your team, and it affects your locker room because you create a bad vibe every single day about who's going to get paid that's deserved the opportunity to get paid. You got to make those decisions and make a clean cut of what we're going to do, and let's move forward.
And your stars get jaded towards the organization. And once again, the Bengals aren't the only team that does this. Historically, though, they have been a team that's been in the spotlight of doing this because they get so many good players and then can't keep them. And it's like, have a guy right now. Are they going to be able to figure out the business to keep these talented gentlemen in Cincinnati? Whenever you provide a guarantee for somebody, ownership has to put that money up into a fund. So they actually have to have that money right now. You have to be able to put that in there. So that's obviously a question with the Brown family. Would they be willing to put that amount of money because the Bengals are their only business? It's crazy because there's other owners that like $106.5 million. Not that Mark Davis is this way, even though he sold to some funds, I think, some venture, 10% he sold. Yeah. There's some owners that can literally just $106.5 million just be like, yeah. Some ownerships that the team is all they got. And it's like fluidity of cash is not necessarily in abundance. I'll be excited to see how that kind of continues to work itself out. And you talk about taking care of guys early. J.J. Watt literally just said that yesterday. It's like, it's good for all parties to take care of somebody early. Saquon Barkley's deal. How about that shit? Just
awesome.
Right?
You talk about another one, just like Maxx Crosby. Like that's what you want to see. You want to see this relationship with organizations where when a guy plays to a certain standard and you go, hey, you know what? This is what we want to encourage. A guy comes in here, the character he plays with, the style he plays with, how he achieved. We're going to make sure these kind of guys get taken care of early. That also helps us make decisions down the road. And that's what I think is the issue, is sometimes the cat and mouse game of the team and the player and trying to figure out, all right, do we want to keep leveraging and holding off paying them? Like, the sooner you can make a commitment to guys, and that's really what the Eagles have done great. Hey, let's pick our 5, 6, 7 guys that we know without question the character they are and the football player they are. We're going to commit to them to move forward. And now that gives us the space to go, all right, when these other situations come up, can we make a move? Can we not? And that really is what, to me, separates what Howie Roseman's been able to do. Is not just these ghost years and these contracts people are talking about how they put them together, but he commits to guys that he knows, this is a guy that I'm going to want in my organization no matter what. And it's the same thing that's been the criticism of the Giants with letting Saquon leave. How do you let talented football players who are also great characters, awesome for your culture, ever walk out of your building? You know, to really validate what that number is that you say is too much is crazy to me, because you want good character people who are great football players. That's what you're in the business of acquiring. You don't let those people walk out of your building.
Yeah, and we watched it all unfold on that Hard Knocks offseason, and boy, that has all just come back completely the other way. And Mara, the owner, has to feel like a super genius.
Yeah.
He's probably, whenever he's going around conversation, have you seen Hard Knocks? I know ball.
I knew it.
I know ball. I told him, I tried to give him a hint. I tried to give him a tip, because remember, it was said back in the day, just a few years back, that Mara was sick of telling his friends why his team sucks, which is why he invested a bunch of money, and then this whole situation.
Pat, to that whole situation was when Sheen said that you don't pay a running back, 12 to 15 million, and have your $40 million quarterback hand the ball off to him. And I'm like, wait a minute, isn't 55 million what all the great quarterbacks are getting paid? So wouldn't you pay your quarterback less and then your running back more, and then that adds up to what the great quarterbacks are? Like, that isn't even, the math actually adds up to, that would be the equivalent of what those guys actually get paid, and that would be the dynamic if you have a quarterback for $40 million.
And you look at the
So
picture,
to me, it just never made any sense.
and you look at the picture right next to your head right now. It's like the Philadelphia Eagles, they paid a guy, quarterback, and he did hand the ball off.
A lot.
They handed the ball off more than they threw the ball, and they're still A-okay with paying Jalen Hurts the amount of money that they're currently paying him. It's a wild time, and it's crazy how this all works, but, maybe the Bengals, maybe the Giants, maybe all these teams, they figure it out this offseason.
Oh, yeah.
Let's go. The one team that I don't even think their fans have any hope, and maybe even the people in the building, the Cleveland Browns, interesting situation as we stay on. Yeah, they're in it. They are in it right now. Myles Garrett has requested a trade. He also requested, allegedly, a meeting with ownership. I assume he was going to go up to Haslam and just say, yeah, I'm never coming in this building again. So the right thing to do is just to get me out of here. Haslam allegedly declined the meeting, so they were not able to catch up, is what's being reported at this exact moment. Andrew Berry has done a media rounds, the general manager for the Cleveland Browns, done a media round saying, Myles Garrett's going to be a Cleveland Brown. Now it's being reported that Myles Garrett is willing to miss games because he said he wants to go and play meaningful football. What are your thoughts on how this works out? And where do you rank Myles Garrett as a guy amongst the defensive end pass rushers? Is this a Mount Rushmore player already?
Well, there's no question he's a Mount Rushmore type player. He's also like the win the game off the bus guy every time. I mean, every time you see this guy, it's impressive, just the physical stature he has. But you look at this situation, Pat, and it's crazy to me because as much, hard time I give the Cincinnati Bengals some of these decisions. Obviously, I loved playing there, but one of the things I respected the most is every time a contract situation came up or I was upset and my agent and I talked, I would go upstairs, and Mike Brown was an open door policy at all times. Anytime you want to come meet with me, you want to talk about these things, we could sit down and have man-to-man conversations and disagree, and that'd be okay. But we're going to talk about it. You can feel better about the fact you communicated in my face about it. And I hate the idea that you would turn down that request, because regardless of what you're going to do, I tell this to players all the time as a leader of a locker room, you're a man before you're anything else, and always live your life that way and make decisions that way. Stick true to who you are. And so to reject an opportunity to sit down with a guy, I don't even understand that. That doesn't even make any sense. Allow him to come in and tell you how he feels, because maybe you would understand him a little better. Maybe you'd understand the situation a little better, or maybe even for him, if you got a chance to convince him why you feel this way, why we'll never trade you, maybe that convinces him to stay a little more. I just think it's a bad way to do it. And unfortunately, they have put him in situations in his 8 years he's been there to where you got to say, hey, Miles, we haven't done a very good job of giving you competitive teams and making good decisions. But at the same time, you know what? You're an unbelievable football player, and we're not in the business of getting rid of great football players who are also great people, like I just said about Saquon. But those conversations have to be had. That man-to-man conversation will matter to Myles Garrett. Either way it shakes out, because I still, even though my Cincinnati end wasn't great, left with a great appreciation for the man Mike Brown is. And I actually have the letter he wrote me when I left in free agency on my wall right here behind me, because it meant so much to me that we always had that relationship, no matter how it ended.
That's awesome to hear that. And that's business, you know? The reason why all this is happening is because it is a business. The way you go about doing business is explaining your side. Like that is, and then you're negotiating. Miles could go in there and be negotiating with Haslam, and Haslam will be negotiating with Miles. Now, it might just sound like a recruiting conversation, but that's negotiating. Getting a guy back, or why you're back, or how much you're worth, and everything like that. Maybe Haslam explains why he pulled the trigger on Deshaun Watson and gave the contract that he gave. Miles, I did that to make a team for you. Like, that is what I try to do this for, because I saw Joe Thomas sit here forever. I'm watching Joel Bitonio now sit here forever. I'm watching you sit here forever. So the reason why I did this with Deshaun is because of you. So it's like there is a sell that you can do in there in that conversation as well, both sides, you know? And maybe even Miles goes in there and goes like, Mr. Haslam, I'm very honored to be a Brown. It has been, I love the city. I've loved playing for you, but you guys have no avenue to success over the next 3 years, and who knows how long I have. So I'm just trying to, and then maybe Haslam's like, all right, you got it. And then shake hands and he's on his way out. It's like those things can happen and probably have happened in the past, Whit, I would assume.
Yeah, and I mean, you think about it. What if Miles says, listen, my heart's just not here anymore, and it's not a place I want to be? Do you want to be in the business of paying a guy who's that great, who you're obviously paying a lot of money to, that just doesn't want to be there? I mean, I think that, yes, two teams do have the right to own you and possess you if they want to and keep you there. But, you know, Mike Tomlin has said it best, right? We want volunteers, not hostages. Like, you got to think about your culture as well when you make these kind of decisions. And it's not like Myles Garrett just angrily sent out a tweet and said, I want out of here. The guy wrote a freaking letter, like an address, like he's retiring of, I'm basically retiring from being a Cleveland Brown and I'm ready to move on. And I think back to my situation in 2011 in Cincinnati with Carson Palmer, who did basically the same thing with the organization and just said, listen, I'm not done playing football, but I am done being a Cincinnati Bengal, and I will retire before I ever play here again. And he did. He sat out most of that season until about week 8, when Hugh Jackson, who had been here with us, was able to call Mike Brown and convince him not to let Carson go out that way, trade him to us in Oakland with the Raiders, and that really extended his career. But Mike Brown was going to put his feet in the ground and allow Carson to just walk off and retire. And so they had their head-to-head. But eventually, I think you gotta ask yourself, if you want that in the building, if Miles really genuinely never wants to be a Cleveland Brown again.
That's a tough culture. And, you know, there has been money that has obviously soothed over these types of fractures in relationships in the past. Maybe we'll see that. But, yeah, let's go shake their hands, boys. Let's go shake their hands. And don't be scared to go in there and be combative. Hey, that happens.
Yeah.
Especially, but at the end, yeah, exactly. You need to go represent in there. Now, let's talk a little bit about another team that has been notoriously terrible, but making some moves that don't look bad. Ty Schmidt has a question for you.
Yeah, Whit, what do you think about what the Bears have done so far this offseason? Obviously, it seems like Caleb Williams got sacked like 500 times last year. Some people think, part of that was on him. Part of it was definitely on the offensive line. But then Ben Johnson right away goes out and trades for Jonah Jackson, who he had in Detroit and was great in Detroit. And then they kind of shock everyone and go out and get Joe Thuney. How big of an impact will this have almost immediately on the Bears next year?
I think it has a huge impact. I mean, you really look at what Ben Johnson came from. I mean, we talk about all the weapons and all those type things, but let's not forget where the Lions really get their bread and butter, in the sense of they're built up front, and that's who they were and have been. And protecting Jared Goff was obviously the number one priority for them. And then all the pieces could come to life because of that. And you really look at the great coordinators across the league, you'll hear them talk about how the quarterback's number one, the offensive line's number two, and that can flip just depending depending on who can do what. That's got to be the priority of how I call a game. And when I'm making a play call every snap, it has to do with those two things. And the Chicago Bears had to find a way to protect Caleb Williams. And if we think he's similar in style possibly to a Mahomes or some of these guys, it's going to have an ability, we got to get to playing in time and a rhythm better, but also going to have that opportunity to extend plays and make plays. Then I want to provide him an interior offensive line that's going to give him time to have those opportunities, because you really look at Patrick Mahomes, a lot of his success has been because of having Trey Smith and Creed Humphrey and Joe Tooney in that interior three. And really we've seen guys coming in and out of the lineup at right tackle and left tackle. So adding a Joe Tooney and a Jonah Jackson, a guy I've been familiar with who already is going to know his system, this just adds another layer of, hey, Caleb, we're going to make you a little more comfortable in this offense, and we're going to be able to do some things. Run the football, use athletic guards that can pull and move. I think those are things that are going to give confidence to Ben Johnson as a play caller, and then also going to provide some space to the quarterback to be able to stay in that pocket and make plays.
Hey, how much is confidence in the offensive line from the quarterback paramount in the success of everything? Because I think there's some conversations about some of these younger quarterbacks, and not all of them, obviously. And Caleb, he has never said this. We're just kind of looking. Whenever you think you're going to get your ass beat on every single play, there is a chance that there is a lack of going through your progressions and just trying to survive. Now, that can't be how you play your entire NFL career. You have to grow out of that. You have to be able to just stick in there and have faith that the people in front of you will do that. But it felt like Caleb got that. Caleb was very uncomfortable. I think even Bryce Young, if you go back to before he got benched to after he got benched, it feels like he had a lot more confidence in the boys in front of him. Maybe that's because Andy Dalton. But if you lose that confidence middle of the season, that's going to be hard to get back. So hopefully this will help bring back Caleb with some confidence with the O-line.
Yeah, that's the thing. You really look at it. I was just going to say that, Pat. You look at the Carolina situation. A lot of times when people say, what is it, sit the quarterback early or not? When I think you see these young guys, really what they need to see sometimes is a veteran like Andy Dalton that Bryce Young got to watch. Go in there and balls coming out in time and a rhythm. Guys, like the offensive line gets more confidence because they can trust that this quarterback, he's going to hit his back foot and he's going to let it go. The receivers get more confident in their route and what they're doing, that, hey, I'm going to get a ball on time. I got to be ready to catch it. So they speed up. And now the offense starts to move at a faster pattern with everybody having a trust and belief of how we're going to operate. Oh, and then Bryce Young comes back in and he kind of sticks to that script, and it's like, oh man, I'm starting to have some success. Then he starts to get confident. And then you start to open yourself up. I mean, Pat, I know you play golf. You know what it's like when you hit that one great shot and you're like, wait a minute, today's my day. Then what do? You feel like you can start opening up all the options. I could draw it. I could cut it. I can start to play the different things. That confidence is real in sports. And so I think you saw that with Bryce Young this year, and I think that's what the Bears are looking for. And the other thing that I think is really important to the Bears situation, Pat, I was with Andy Dalton when he was a rookie, veteran offensive lineman. He had a couple other vets with me that we could be around for him and help him. You look at it when I came to L.A. with Jared Goff. He had a struggle his rookie year, and then his second year with Sean McVay and us, John Sullivan, other vets in that group, Roger Saffold. We were able to kind of be there and give him, hey, man, we got you. Trust us to protect you. I think adding two veteran guards who've done it at a high level that you believe in, it's not just how they play. It's those little moments in the huddle of, man, it's 3rd and 8. Hey, we're going to give you one more tick, man. We're going to give you another second to get this ball out. You do your thing, man. Just being able to have that veteran presence in the offense. Think of what he had last year. He didn't have a veteran backup. He didn't have a veteran lineman in that group that had really played and had a lot of experience over time. So this is going to be something that's not just about their play. It's also about who they are as human beings. It's the success they've had.
A pat on the helmet. Hey, we're good. That type of shit. That's a big deal.
Hey, stay your ass up in the pocket. That's the other one, right?
Hey, I'm not holding on for 20 seconds. Yeah. All that type of
Hey, listen, I tell Jared Goff every play call, hey, what's this one? 7-step, 5-step? Hey, 8 yards, 9 yards. Don't you dare get deeper than that.
Hey, Jared, I'm running them.
Hell no.
Hey, Jared, I'm running them. Okay, so if you're back there, this is on you. Okay, we need you.
If you're back there, it's on you, baby.
That is a big deal. You forget about the human side of this whole thing, And it's like Caleb, I don't know if he felt like he had to project as if he knew everything, but he did have to project as if he knew everything. And it's like you look around that team, there wasn't a lot of people that were like, hey, also this to work alongside of him. I think he has that confidence to be a leading man. I think he does. I think he has the ability to do it too. I think if they put the right people around him, why not Chicago, Zito? Why not, Chicago?
Why not? Let's go.
Well, history tells us it won't be.
Don't forget, Jonah Jackson's also training at the Village, baby. So hey, we're going, baby. We're Team Bears over here too.
Right.
Hey, I did not know that. We got a factory happening over there with Whitworth. Now let's talk about. You said Jonah Jackson training over there. We're talking about Tooney going over there. We're talking about teams rewarding. Certain things. How about whenever the world champion rewards the offensive line and the running back? What does that mean? Connor has a question for you, Whit.
Yeah, Whit, all those things about the O-line and the pass game are great, but it does feel like the running game, the trenches are all the way back, and that has kind of become the new thing once again, because we always talk about how the NFL is cyclical. What do you think about kind of that structure to a team? Do you think more teams are going to try to do it like Philly, both in the draft and bringing in, elite running backs and some of that, offensive line talent? You think those two positions all of a sudden are a much bigger deal? And also, do you think kind of the strategy that Cincinnati and some other teams are going with kind of the high-powered throw the ball all over the yard is kind of becoming old news almost, and that isn't a real way to win?
Yeah, I think that's my biggest concern for Cincinnati. I'll answer the second one first. Is that yes, you can put up a lot of points, and they got on a roll at the end of the season, but look how they've started every year. And it's like if they don't start successfully, then it's like they're always playing this game where, yeah, you're putting up points, but just because you're down in a lot of games and you're not controlling the time of possession and you're not dominating the other team, you're just able to put up a lot of explosives. I think we're starting to see a switch in the league now back to time of possession, running the football, being able to sustain drives. And we know it's a copycat league, so I think it's going to be really interesting to see this offseason. I look at a guy like Ronnie Stanley, some of these guys, Shaq Mason now just getting released, like some of these veteran linemen, what's the market going to be? What are some teams going to say, hey, we have to get better up front so that we can run the football? I think that it's going to be interesting to see how many teams try to copycat. The only problem is to me, it's like when you have three great players on an NBA team, with those three superstar teams. Like Saquon Barkley should not be behind that offensive line. It's absolutely crazy that this even happened because of how good they are up front and now Saquon. But if you want to copycat the Eagles, it's real simple. You need a bunch of second-round picks that get a chance to watch Jason Kelsey and Lane Johnson, tremendous football players, play. You need a guy like Lane Johnson to last, freaking over a decade and play at a super high level. You need a rugby player who can come over and after playing rugby and be an absolute freak at left tackle. Oh, and then find you a top 15 pick who's a bust who can come in and move to a position he's never played in his life and be dominant. So if you want to copycat it, go for it. Have fun, guys.
Yeah, and get Saquon, get a running back that can jump over people backwards. Saquon did say that he took less money to go to Philadelphia because of the big guys up front. He thought exactly what you said, exactly what a lot of people were thinking at the end of the year. It's like that pairing, the greatest in history. He broke the record for obviously including playoff runs and playoff yardage, most yardage by a running back in the history. And then his yards before contact was like a top 5 running back this year, let alone his total yards, but his yards before contact, like that one, wasn't even touched there. His yards before contact, living by itself as its own running back, top 5 running back in the entire league. So it's like that's directly to scheme and offensive line. And then I think his yak, he's like top 15 or something. It's unbelievable. It is unbelievable. And Howie and Sirianni and everybody in Philadelphia was like, yeah, we want to do that again. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we would like to do that. Let's see how many times we can run that. Yeah, no shit. Mekhi Becton, what a story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is that not unbelievable? What is he, 6'7"
It is, man. Yeah, when you see these guys get a chance like that after the Super Bowl to reflect on the journey and even to watch him, how emotional he would get to just being a part of a winning program, being a part of something just bigger than yourself. I think that feeling, you guys know this with the success y'all have all had together. It's like being a part of something bigger than just you, that all of a sudden you have all this success and it's going in the right direction. And yeah, you believed it, but you didn't really know if it happened. And then to sit there and be in those moments, to watch a guy like Mekhi, like it's tough, man. When you get in the NFL, you have this expectation at one place that you're going to come in and be dominant. I can remember him running the 40 and we all freaking out about it, with just a huge freak athlete he was. And then to have the injuries he had, which were real stuff, right? That it really a struggle to get through. And then to be labeled a bust. And you know what? When you say that about a top pick, it's like we say, man, your career's over. Like, you were a top pick and now you can't make it. It's over. And you get to a place, you play a position you never played in your life, and you get around an awesome group that all of a sudden gives you confidence to believe in yourself. It's what's so freaking awesome about football, man, that you get that belief, and now there's a new fragrance to you, man. You feel like you smell good, you look good, you play good. That, to me, is the beauty of this game.
Stoutland University over there does it again with Sirianni. And putting him at guard is obviously something that not a lot of people would do. And for him, going from being a top 15 tackle to go to guard is like a cornerback being told you're going to go to safety. Like, you don't have it anymore. So for him to put his ego aside and be like, yeah, I just want to play ball, that's awesome. Now let's talk about the tackle coming into this year's draft out of LSU. Hey,
Death Valley.
Yeah, you're right. Don't say it. Tone has a question for you.
Yeah, talking about top 15 tackles having to go to guard. I assume you know Will Campbell, since you guys, I believe, went to the same hometown, same college, same position. He's the number one tackle on the board, and then he goes to the combine, and he has the shortest arms in 10 years or whatever it is. And now all the draft guys and all the stat guys are saying he can't play left tackle in the NFL. How do you feel about, teams saying that guys with shorter arms can't play tackle and moving them to guard? You think Will be able to play out there, and just in general, just that whole situation going on with tackles moving to guard?
Yeah, I mean, you look at his tape and really how he played in college. I mean, there's nothing that sticks out and says, oh, he can't play tackle. Sure, you can go find you some clips of a guy long-arming him or something, but guess what? Every tackle in the entire group has got some play like that out there. But you look at really the physicality, the strength he has. I think he has a demeanor to play this game. And I say this all the time, man, never let people's opinions of you become your reality. And so his really willpower, who is he made of? What's his mettle as a man to say, you know what, give me that label that I can't play this position. I'll go show you I can. Because when I came out for the draft, not because of arm length or anything else, but because people thought I wasn't athletic enough, different than him, it was, hey, he could only play guard or possibly be a right tackle that could start for you, but he'll never play left tackle. So to this day, I can list you anything about any left tackles that ever played in my time, not because I hated any of those guys, but because some scouts said this guy won't play left tackle. I can list you the stats of who started the most games, played in the most playoffs.
Who was it?
And won a Super Bowl division championships, you name it. All right? You want to list the stat? Let's talk about it. But it's still something that lives in you, man. And so his drive and will to prove them wrong, that'll be his separator. And maybe he'll be at left tackle. Maybe he'll be at being an all-pro guard. Who knows? But I think Will's wired right, and I'm excited to see his journey.
Willpower, Campbell.
Boom.
I have good willpower down there at offensive line. If you're an offensive lineman down there in the bayou, I'm impressed because of how hot it is. Carrying that weight around, which leads me to this. I was reminded of a part of your Walter Payton Man of the Year speech this morning. Got sent back in from Foxy, who's a Detroit Lions fan. For those that did not hear it or see it, here's Big Whit after winning the Walter Payton Man of the Year at the NFL Honors Show.
In our game against the Detroit Lions, I had a young player from the Lions run up to me as soon as the final horn went off. And I saw him sprinting over, and I didn't know what was going on. Like we'd known each other forever. I couldn't place him. It made me so nervous. Had I actually played long enough that like a coach's son or player's son is playing against me? He stopped that. He said, hey man, you're not going to remember me. I'm Derek Barnes. You spent time with me when you were a young player in Cincinnati at the Boys and Girls Club, and it meant the world to me. You used to sit with me and talk to me about life, and I was just a little kid. I want you to know how much it meant to me. I said, man. He goes, you know what? The main thing I wanted to say, Whit, I made it. I made it to the NFL, Big Whit.
Hey, getting choked up just watching it again. I couldn't imagine your feelings. He just signs a massive deal. Not only did he make it to the NFL, he just changed everything for him in the next generation of his family, $25.5 million. I said big brothers, big sisters. It was the Boys and Girls Club in Cincinnati. Hey, that had to be so cool to kind of experience that and see that. And also, for somebody to come up and say that whenever you decided to go do something to make the community better, you did. I'm happy you got your flowers in real time, Whit. Legit. I'm happy you got your flowers.
Appreciate that, brother. I appreciate it. I was a little hot and bothered right there. I was doing some sweating.
Yeah, what were you, 340 there? 350? What were you?
I was 3:40, Pat. I'd come straight from practice. We'd been practicing we're obviously playing in the Super Bowl, so I came straight from practice, got a car service. Believe it or not, they actually forgot the car service, so we had to drive.
I believe it.
We got a police escort, me and Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp got Offensive Player of the Year, and I won Walter Payton, but we were hauling butt down the 101, the 405, trying to get to trying to get to the honors, and it was an amazing night. You know, Pat, the cool thing about that speech that I will say real quick is, you know, obviously you get put on the timer. We watch the award shows. The music's going to start playing. You only got so long. Hey, Whit, don't talk too much. We want you to talk a little bit. And so I gave that speech, and the only part I didn't get to finish it up with is obviously people walk away from that and go, man, you made an awesome impact in this kid's life at Boys and Girls Club. You were a rookie in the NFL, spending your Tuesdays hanging out with these kids, throwing the football, and developed a relationship. But I want to make sure people understand something, that act of service sometimes is as much for you as it is for them. And so what I really wish I could have buttoned it up with is that Derek Barnes changed my life every bit as much as I changed his in his mind. Because the real truth is, I was a Louisiana kid that had moved to Ohio. I was lost. I just gotten out of a long-time relationship. I didn't know who I was or what I was going to be. But the only thing that made me feel right is going and reminding myself, playing with these kids, man, that I started playing this game because I loved playing the game. And I loved being around people who just loved playing it as well. And it just got me back to reminding myself who I was and what I came from. And that filled my heart and gave me the passion to go chase it every single Sunday, that I'm going to change my family's life. So to see Derek Barnes now get this contract, have the opportunity that the game not only changed his life, but he's going to be able to change everyone around his life because of what he's achieved. That's the coolest freaking part of it, man. And he deserves all the credit in the world.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Hey, fulfillment's a real thing, isn't it? Isn't it crazy?
It is, brother.
Fulfillment is really the only thing worth getting or chasing. And those Community Tuesdays did a lot, not just for you, but across the league for young players. And I'm happy to hear that about Derek. What a story. I'm happy he remembered too, you know, because every once in a while those things just kind of come and go. He obviously, great dude, as are you. Connor had a question he wanted to ask you.
Yeah, Big Whit, we've heard this story a couple times from one of your buddies, Jay Glazer. Is it true that when you guys were down in Cabo, you were all hanging out in the pool and Drew Brees gave a big old cannonball, and then somehow, some way, you and Sean McVay and all the guys recruited Stafford on that trip to come to the Rams?
Got him boozed up.
Yep.
Got him boozed. Jay Glazer's out there serving booze.
Right.
Drew Brees is doing cannonballs.
Right.
And Big Whit's like, hey, why don't you come meet my friend Sean McVay? He's younger than you.
You know what? We had a good time in Cabo, that's for sure. That I will say. We had a good time, a lot of good people, and a lot of those same people were still intertwined, man. It's been an awesome ride, that's for sure. But that was a cool moment, honestly. And Drew Brees did cannonball in the pool. Okay. I don't remember us being in the hot tub part. I don't know where Jay got that one. He may be like kind of a little romantic at heart or something. I don't know.
I remember there was bubbles.
Yeah, classic Glaze.
There was bubbles coming out. It was warm. It was heat.
Yeah, I think that's the salesman in him a little bit. But I do remember Drew Brees cannonballing in the pool and splashed us with water while we were actually sitting there having a dinner. It was Sean McVay's birthday, actually, and he cannonballed us. I thought that I got a lot of respect for Drew for that.
Absolutely. That doesn't sound like a Drew Brees.
No.
I respect the Drew Brees.
I think he'd had a dinner and had him a couple too, Pat. He was feeling good.
Word?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was feeling good. Like, hey, you know what? Yeah, I think he remembered the NFC Championship, the non-call, and he said, you know what? These guys are a little too dressed up for me. I'm going to give them a cannonball and make sure they remember.
That changed football there for like a year. The pass interference was reviewable, and then it wasn't, and then now it stinks, and now it's back in with who knows. That was a massive game, massive year for you guys. Fun to watch, and you're great, man. This is an incredible conversation. We can't thank you enough.
Anytime, brother. Appreciate you guys.
Whit and Fitz. Let's go do this. Whit and Fitz. Let's go do all of this.
I got the mug, baby.
Oh, you already got the merch. It's Fitz and Whit.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, wait a minute. I'm holding it the wrong way.
Yeah.
Flip the wrong way. Sorry.
Just
Whit.
flip it upside
down.
Ladies and gentlemen, Thursday Night Football on Prime, Super Bowl champion Andrew Whitworth.
Yeah.